answering my questions. Can you start by telling me your first names?
My name's Lauren.
Okay.
My name is Jack.
Jack. Yeah, Jack. Okay. And what grade are you in?
I'm in grade 5.
I'm in grade 5 too.
My name is Sam. I'm in grade 5.
My name is Devin. I'm in grade 6.
And what school do you go to?
We go to Sunridge Centennial Public School.
So, est-ce que tu aimes français?
Oui.
Oui.
Oui. Oui.
Oui. Pourquoi?
Well, I like French because you're learning a different language, and then when you can talk in it more, and you can show it to your parents and just know it. So if something comes up in your life that's French, you can do it.
I enjoy French because Madame is very honest about what to do, and she is kind, and she lets you know what you're doing wrong or right. And with her in the classroom, I feel more confident, and I think that I do better when I'm more confident.
Yeah, it's really exciting because when you learn a new language, it's all like learning that you've never done before.
How about you?
I like French because she helps us and it's something new that we learn.
What is special about your French class? What does Madame do that you really like?
Well, I like it because she makes it fun to learn, and she Madame, she gives us games in French, and it's just fun to learn with games, and whatever she does, it's usually fun.
I like how now we're speaking more. Before we used to write all of our stuff, but now we actually speak, and she's doing actions that help you remember stuff. That's what I like.
I like how she helps you and she teaches you how to proofread, and so you feel really good about yourself when you finish a piece of work, and your classmates, they help you proofread your work, and then you can bring it home to your parents and feel happy about what you've accomplished.
I like how she pushes us harder and harder until we get
How does she push you? Does she encourage you?
Yeah, she encourages us and she's confident in us that we can do it.
Did you always like French class?
No.
Last year I didn't.
That's all right. And who do you get to talk to?
Well, we sometimes talk to people in the class. Sometimes once we did this activity, and you have to it's a circle, and you have to talk to people just ask what's your hair color and stuff, and it's just fun like that.
You want to add, Jack?
No.
Can you guys show me that inside-outside circle? What would it look like? So if the two of you came up, can you show me what it would look like? Just the way you are.
Okay, well, it would be people on the outs. So we would divide the class into equal groups, and the outside circle would be half of the class, and then the inside circle would be inside. And she'd just tell us what to ask or what to say, and they'd answer.
Okay, so can you guys pretend you're in the inside-outside circle and do it right now?
Okay.
So you'll be inside circle, Jack, and you'll be outside circle.
Okay, well, it's kind of hard to remember, but I'll try.
Can you try just do the je me présente? Do you remember how to introduce yourselves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bonjour, je m'appelle.
Okay. Yeah, so look at each other and go for it.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Lauren.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jack.
Bonjour, Jack. Est-ce que tu happy? I forget how to say it.
So ask again. Just the way you did it. Est-ce que tu es happy? Ask
Est-ce
this
que
way.
tu happy? Yeah. We. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were learning boy, girl, or hair color, and boucle, curly, or brun. colors, and we would just ask, like, what, like, do you have curly hair or whatever. We just ask that kind of stuff.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about your French class that we haven't talked about yet?
I like the activities that we do in the class, like how sometimes we go around in a circle and we'll divide our class evenly and have half of the class in the inside in a circle and then the other half of the class facing the classmates that are inside of the circle.
Super fun.
Would you like to state your name and your position for the camera?
So my name is Kim Paulai, and I'm principal at Sundridge Centennial School.
What growth have you seen in the core French program since September?
I have seen a really huge growth in our French program here. I have seen an excitement and a buzz in classrooms as I'm walking through the French room. Kids are so involved in conversing with each other. So much talk happening. Everyone is involved. All the students are feeling happy and safe together, talking, exchanging ideas. And I think it's meaningful, relevant learning. And I think, when I'm asking them about what they're learning and why they're learning it, they have a really good understanding about the purpose of what they're learning. So it's not just kids reciting numbers or colors. It's kids talking and having a purpose for those colors and numbers. For example, they might be trying to describe somebody. So they're talking about the color of the eyes or the color of the hair. So they have a real purpose to what they're learning. And there's lots of neat activities where students are in circles, conversing with each other and doing a rotation. So they're talking to lots of different kids. And there's a real energy in our French classroom, and they're so excited to share. So the moment I walk in, there's a student that wants to talk to me in French. And I have a very small background in French, but I just love to hear the language. I love to hear little people speaking the language. And it's meaningful, they're engaged, and it's exciting. There's a real buzz around French in our school.
Awesome. Are there any key messages you would like to share with your colleagues about the core French programming at Sundridge?
I think just the importance of being open and accepting, and I think supporting your French teacher in terms of some new things that they want to try with students. And at the beginning, I think there's some resistance from students, and I think, our French teacher here did experience that a little bit. It was something different, it was something new, and she kind of had to battle through that a little bit to get students open to learning in a new way. So I think I would say that, the French teacher really needs some support in their journey as well. They need some resources, they need some support, and even some moral support to get through some challenges that are inevitable.
What kind of resources have you reached out for to support your core French teacher?
I think most importantly for our French teacher was some tech. That was an important investment for me to make, and it was a number of iPads, a very small number of iPads, just to support the program that she was doing and some things that she was deliberately working on. So she has a very intentional use of technology in her program, and I felt that it was important to support her in that. We have iPads in classrooms, but I think it was important for her to have those resources at her disposal when she needs them.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for meeting with me.
No problem.
This is great. Can you state your name, position, and school for the camera?
Oh my goodness, that's a lot to remember. Kelly Brubaker, core French teacher at Sundridge Centennial Public School.
Awesome. Thank you. Kelly, can you take us through a typical class? So where you start, where you tend to go?
Yeah, sure. The first thing I do when I go into a class, so I started here brand new this year, and the first thing I did was ask the kids what they want to learn. So I will say something like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to do? There's lots of different things that come up. One of the things that came up in the grade 5-6 class was, we want to learn about ice cream. And I said, okay, ice cream. And they said, yeah, like last year we learned about all the different flavors of ice cream. And I said, when would that be useful to you, and like in your everyday life, when would that be useful? Like, how many of you think you'd use ice cream in your everyday life? And not many of them thought that would be something that they would use regularly. So then they started talking about, well, we would like to learn how to describe people, so that's where I start, is what would be useful to you, and then I'll ask them, okay, if that's what you want to do, then what kinds of things do we need to learn in order to accomplish that? So if they want to learn how to describe, well, then they'll say, well, we need to learn how to say hair and eyes, and we need all our colors, and so then we start working with those things, and the whole time that we're talking, so we'll learn a few words, and then I'll get them to turn and talk, and so they turn and talk to one another to practice. Once they're comfortable talking to one person, then I'll say, okay, go find 3. So talk, moving from one person to talking to 2 or 3 people. And then we'll do a strategy that I really like, which is inside-outside circle. So get them just get them talking, talk. I also write it, and we go over what it looks like. So I like to match the spoken word with the written word so that they can read it. But I don't get them to write. So we don't do a lot of writing even first term. We save our writing for second term once they've done lots and lots of talking and they know lots of words because they've talked a lot of words, then we can use those words to do some writing. So that's kind of how I structure things.
So that's your learning cycle, right?
Can you talk about the strategies you use in your classroom?
Strategies I use in my classroom, sure. So we do a lot of, I will introduce a word and we take a look at it and see what it looks like. If there's an action that I can use to help them remember it, I use that. Sometimes there aren't actions, and they don't use the actions for very long. They might use the actions. I'll sometimes say to them, use the actions for the first 5 or 6 times that you use the word, and then you probably won't need it anymore. Strategies, turning and talking to one another, we try to practice feedback too. So getting the kids to give each other feedback is really helpful. So giving each other helpful feedback about what they're hearing, and so that they can correct one another, because that makes a lot more teachers in the class than just me, which is good.
Thank you. How important is it to know your students' level of proficiency when you are planning lessons, when you're planning their learning journeys, or when you're beginning that inquiry? How important is to know their level of proficiency and then to build upon that?
I think it's really important. Important to know their, what language they have, what language they feel that they need, and how to get them there. So it's really about meeting them where they're at, and helping them achieve what they can achieve. So I'll often say things like, so if we're in the 7-8 class, for example, they wanted to learn about directions. So I say to them, okay, what do you know? Are there any words you already know? So we'll put those up there, and what do you need to know? So then we put those words up there, and then we practice and we repeat and we talk to one another and we do inside-outside circle, and so hopefully we get them all at the same level of proficiency, and then we move forward as a group. So try not to leave anybody behind if you can help.
So is it important to have, being in a K-8 school, is it important to have a continuum, or to create a continuum with the curriculum? And what does that look like for you?
It really is. It really is important. So what does that look like for me? So in grade 1, I don't teach SK this year, but in grade 1 and in
the 1-2 class, we learn the alphabet. You wouldn't think that'd be very important, but when I get to the 4-5 class, they need to know how to use those letters to talk about. Like, it would be so great if the 5-6s knew their alphabet, and I could use that to say, a, u, fe, o, a, I, fo, e. If they could do that, so the grade 1-2s that are coming up know their alphabet, and they can say, je m'appelle Emma, or M-M-A. So they know their alphabet. So then as they go forward, they can use those letters to dissect words and to help them when they're reading, and numbers to be able to they want to know about money. Like, as they get older, they want to be able to purchase things. That's one of the things they talk about. I want to be able to go into a store and purchase things. So they want to know about numbers. So we teach that. I teach that in the younger grades so that they have a level of comfort with it as they get older, and it's not new to them, because there's so much that is new. Like, once you hit grade 4, they're reading and writing and listening and talking, and there's so much going on. So if you have all that stuff done when they're younger, then you're not worrying about it so much, as they're comfortable already. So then they can just do the reading and do the writing, and they're not overwhelmed by it.
Can you talk about how it's important that a continuum is built, when you're building that continuum, to be working with your family of schools?
Sure. I think it's really important that we have a continuum within from elementary school to elementary school, first of all. Because kids obviously move from one area to another, and so if we're all sort of teaching the same way, at least, maybe not the same stuff, because if you're asking the kids what they want to learn, then you're not going to be teaching the same stuff. But if you're teaching sort of the same way, then at least there's that familiarity. But then there's the continuum from elementary school off into the secondary schools. And so, if the secondary schools know what the elementary schools are doing and what what level of proficiency they're at, then they can build on that. And so they already know what they're getting, and they can build from there. So, for instance, I've told all of my junior grades and my intermediate grades that I have a portfolio that I'm building for each student of written work and listening activities that we've done. And so hopefully that portfolio will go with them. That's my plan, is to send it with them off to secondary, so that the secondary teacher will have an idea what the kids have been doing, what they've been up to.
So in having these professional conversations with your colleagues across division and within your family schools, how can the board support these endeavors?
I think the board is doing a good job of supporting, because I really like the CIs. They give us a chance to collaborate. Sometimes I feel it's unfortunate that the South has to be separated from the North. It would be nice to be able to collaborate even more than we do. But how else to collaborate? Or how else? You're asking how can the board support? I think it's just important for French teachers to get together. So, for instance, I have a lot of French books, like good French books, that I use in my program for reading. But when I mentor, and that's another really good thing that the board offers, is mentoring so somebody like me who's been doing the job for 20 years is paired up with someone who is just starting out. And that's, I think, a really valuable thing. So, if I was to be able to get together with other French teachers and say, these are the French books that I'm using and this is how I'm using them, and maybe a little more often than we can right now do that, I think that would be valuable. The sharing of resources, and not just the sharing of resources, but how you use them in the classroom, I think would be valuable. Obviously, I'm speaking for me, but that is something that I think might be helpful too. But just in talking with people that I've mentored, they find it really helpful when they get to come into the classroom and watch me do a lesson and watch how I scaffold and have me explain and just see the whole process, not just a piece of the process, right? So, yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
And as we move towards building continuums, at what point or when would you see students being proficient enough that we could be teaching full-time or almost full-time in French, in the target language?
Oh, that's so my goal. I really want to get there. And I feel like even now, I could be doing some of that. I was a little leery to do that because they had such a negative view of French, or I'm not sure, just a negative sort of mindset about French. So I wanted to make them really comfortable, but even now I feel like I think in grade 1 you can start with those processes of, est-ce que je prends les toilettes, est-ce que je peux avoir un crayon, and asking questions and talking to the kids in French, putting a little bit of French in at a time, and using some actions and some facial expressions to help them understand. I think you can start early with them. I think we should start early. I think I should have started early. I wish I had started a little earlier. So yeah, that's my goal. For next year, that's what I'm going to try and do.
Awesome. Thank you.